Hey guys, it's Madison, and it's currently the morning of Thursday, November 2nd, which means today is finally the dreaded day of the Korean speech contest. So for the full context of how I got involved in this, you can watch my video from a couple weeks back where I decided kind of on a whim to participate in this contest. But yeah, even though I have stage fright, for some reason I decided that it would be a great idea to participate in this Korean speech contest that is happening today. A couple of weeks ago, I submitted my initial submission, which was a video version of the speech. I passed that preliminary round, which means that today I have to give the speech in front of all the judges and other contestants in person. I'm already feeling a little bit nervous, but I'm trying to ignore that feeling and just go about my day because first I have to go to work. It's currently about 8:10 in the morning, so I have to go to work, have my normal work day, and then the speech contest starts at 3 p.m. My class ends at 2. I might end it slightly early so I can make sure I'm at the event on time because you have to arrive a bit early as well. But yeah, that's my plan for today. Go to work, try to ignore the nervousness already bubbling up inside me, and then hopefully go and do well at the speech contest. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go to work now before I'm not late, but I will check in with you guys later as the speech contest approaches.
Place, a new home for a while. Let me feel alive. Nothing to hold me back. Take my time, just enjoy the ride.
Alright, so here I am back in my room, obviously. Originally, I was planning on doing more of a vlog throughout the day, showing how I was feeling, updating on how things were going, that kind of stuff, but that did not happen. Honestly, it was really windy outside, so I couldn't film outside. And then honestly, I was more focused on just trying to get from my school to the place and then finding where to go inside the building and that kind of stuff. And then after it was all over, it was dark. And so I didn't really have a good chance to update you guys on what was going on that day. So full disclosure, it's a couple days later. I put the same outfit on just for continuity, but it's not the same day anymore, just so you know. But I am ready to report on everything that went down that day. So like I mentioned, I went off to school and I kind of was nervous the whole day. During the morning classes, I was more able to kind of ignore the impending doom of the speech contest. But yeah, once lunch and the afternoon class came around, I was definitely feeling very nervous and nauseous. But yeah, in my afternoon class, like I mentioned, I had to end it slightly earlier than normal. And so I mentioned to the students the reason why was the speech contest. And immediately they were like, "Oh, professor, you have to show us your speech." And even though I did not agree to give my whole speech to them because, like I said, I get really nervous about showing my own skills to people, and it's a lot different than just being their professor normally. And so I did agree to show them one sentence of my speech. And even that caused me to start shaking profusely. Like literally I was like visibly shaking. And my students were like, "What's wrong with you?" Like, because normally I'm so I feel like I give off a very confident and nothing matters to me kind of image to my students, but this I think showed them oh, she says she's shy, I guess she actually is, because I started shaking after just one sentence to my students. But they were really cute. They were like, "Oh, professor, make sure you speak slowly, and make sure you do this and that with your intonation." And so they're trying to be really helpful for me. So that was really cute, honestly. But yeah, I went ahead and headed over to the event. I went through my speech a couple of times in my head on the way over, the bus ride over. But honestly, after twice, I kind of stopped because I had learned through my practicing and my videoing of the preliminary round that if I give my speech more than a couple of times in a row, my mouth starts to stop working and I can't enunciate well anymore. So I just start going in the middle of my speech, which is not what I wanted to do. So I only went through it once or twice on the bus and then just kind of went into a meditative state and just tried to enjoy the scenery passing by the window and just figure out where the room is and then just sit there and look around the room and not worry about my speech anymore. There was only at this point 10 to 15 minutes left until it started, and so there was nothing else I could do anyways. Whatever was going to happen was going to happen. No use practicing anymore at this point. So yeah, it was actually quite a bit different inside the place where we were going to give the speeches than I had imagined. I was picturing stage, darkness, spotlights on the speaker kind of a image, but thankfully it was not that because that would have been extremely nerve-wracking. Instead, it was a small kind of room. There was 30 to 40 maybe people in the room, including the participants, which there were 12 of total. And it was very well lit. There was a podium with a microphone in the front, but that's all. There was nothing no stage, no nothing, no stairs that I would have to walk up and be worried about tripping down. So that was nice. But I was very, very close to the podium, which was very nerve-wracking, honestly, at the beginning, to like be 5 feet away and like staring at the podium right in front of me. But yeah, we had actually received the order of these speeches in advance. And so I was actually scheduled to go second out of 12, which actually I think was the perfect, most optimal location for giving your speech, because going first is just very nerve-wracking. You know, you don't want to be the first one to kind of break ground and set the tone. And so I was glad to not go first, but I also was glad to not have to wait a long time and watch a bajillion speeches before I had to give my own. I was able to get it over with almost immediately and not have to wait through a bunch of stuff. So that was great as well. My Korean teacher actually also came to watch, which was nice. At first I didn't invite any of my colleagues or, you know, classmates or anything to come and watch me because I thought it would make me more nervous if there were people I knew in the crowd. But actually I was really glad that one person came that I knew, because it was actually surprisingly comforting to have that one familiar face in the crowd. And also she was able to video the speech for me. So I'm actually going to include it in this video and show you guys. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, like I said, during that last kind of little bit after I kind of vented all of my anxiety to my teacher and we sat down, I just kind of went into my little meditation mode and tried to just not feel nervous, which I was not that successful at, to be totally honest. I actually had my big old water bottle with me, which was good. I made sure I had lots of warm water in there so I could try to avoid having a dry throat, because I was nervous mostly about two things that I've had issues with in the past. The first was shaking, which I already mentioned, like even just that one sentence in front of my students had me shaking profusely. And so I was really nervous about like going out there and just like trembling like a leaf, which doesn't really give the air of confidence in a presentation. And I was also nervous about my throat going really dry, because during my thesis presentation in grad school, I actually lost my voice in the middle because I was so nervous. My throat went so dry, and after speaking with a dry throat for a couple minutes, I lost my voice and started just like hacking whenever I tried to talk. And so it was rough to get through that thesis presentation. Thankfully, it ended up going okay that day as well, but it was obviously not an optimal situation to be like coughing my way through trying to speak during this really important situation. So I made sure I had lots of water in my water bottle, and I was trying to shake as little as possible, but obviously it's an involuntary reaction, not much I could avoid there. But yeah, I was constantly drinking on the bus ride over while I was sitting there waiting, making sure I was very hydrated, hoping to avoid the dry throat situation. And that's when the event started. So it started off with the MC, who was wearing pretty hanbok, giving a little introduction to the event. The mayor, I think, of Incheon, some important guy in a suit, came up and gave a little intro speech as well. The judges introduced themselves. They went over the grading criteria, which is like so many points for being like expressive and engaging, so many points for using correct Korean language, and then some points for, I think, like being on topic, I guess. I don't know. It was very quick and only verbal, so that's what I recall it being from the event. They also had like some traditional music performances, both at the beginning and then also in the middle of the presentation, that I actually recorded. It was kind of cute and fun to watch. And they even like included like, I think, Let It Be by the Beatles, like interesting music choices, but that was kind of fun. And yeah, without any further ado, the event started. And so contestant number 1, who was from Brunei, she was very nice. We had chatted a little bit before the event started. She was introduced by the MC, and she went up to give her speech. And honestly, she was not perfect in her presentation. She was not bad at all either, but the little flaws and mistakes in her presentation honestly gave me great comfort that I would not have to follow a perfect presentation, because that would make me extremely, extremely nervous. But even with those little flaws, I was horrified to realize that my mouth had gone completely cotton dry. What I had feared was coming true. My mouth was so dry, and I'd already gone through my entire water bottle, and so I had no more water to get, and I couldn't just get up in the middle of the presentation and like, you know, get my water bottle refilled. And so I was getting so nervous listening to this girl's speech. Even though her little small mistakes occasionally gave me comfort, I was horrified at the fact that my mouth was dry and I might lose my voice. And so I was getting more and more nervous as she gave her speech. She sat down, everyone clapped, and the MC starts to introduce me. And then another horror of horrors, the picture they used is just some random screenshot from the video that you send in with your speech at the very beginning. And so it was just some random, like not the best, most flattering photo of me, huge on the screen. And then also the MC, like just casually introducing them and talking about MBTI, start saying the first lines of my speech, like, oh, who here's heard of the MBTI? And I'm like, no, no, MC lady, please don't say my speech, the beginning opening lines of my speech. Oh no. But you know, obviously there's nothing I could do. And so with that, with a trembling heart and body, I went up to the podium to give my speech. So I'm gonna go ahead and show my speech here. I will have you know that I actually was kind of trembling behind this podium the entire time and was very nauseous and had the driest of mouths that you could have. But thankfully, I think that my like smile and like pleasant demeanor kind of hid the fact that I was shaking so much behind the podium. So you can be the judge of whether or not you can tell that I'm physically shaking behind the podium, but here is my speech with subtitles for you to enjoy.
네, 안녕하세요. 교수인 메디슨 브래드라고 합니다. 네, 몇 년 전부터 한국에서 MBTI라는 테스트가 유행하고 있습니다. 혹시 들어본 적이 있나요? 네, MBTI는 자기의 성격이 뭔지, 다른 사람에 비해 사고방식이 어떻게 다른지 자세히 설명해주는 테스트입니다. ISTP, ESTJ 이렇게 4개의 영문자로 표시된 성격이 16개로 나뉘어 있습니다. 더 외향적인지 아니면 더 내향적인지, 더 사고형인지 아니면 더 감정형인지 이 테스트를 하면서 이렇게 자기의 성격을 다 알아볼 수 있습니다. 이 테스트는 왜 재미있는지는 분명합니다. 내가 과연 어떤 사람일까? 그 사람은 왜 그런 사고방식을 갖게 된 걸까? 이런 질문에 답할 수 있는 것은 바로 이런 성격 유형 검사입니다. 그래서 요즘 한국에서 이런 테스트가 유행하고 있고 요즘 저한테 MBTI가 어떻게 돼요? 라고 물어보는 사람들도 많아지고 있습니다. 솔직히 저는 제 MBTI 결과를 전혀 모릅니다. 이 테스트를 한두 번쯤 해봤는데도 매번 자세한 결과를 읽게 되고 솔직히 저는 제가 ISTP이든 INTJ이든 별로 상관도 없습니다. 그런데도 저한테는 이런 테스트가 이 세상을 조금 더 좋은 방향으로 바꾸고 있는 증거로 보입니다. 그래서 오늘은 제가 왜 그렇게 생각하는지 설명하도록 하겠습니다. 아까 제가 제 MBTI 결과를 잘 모른다고 했죠? 맞습니다. 하지만 제가 확실하게 아는 부분이 딱 하나 있습니다. 제가 무조건 내향적인 I입니다. 저는 다른 사람이랑 오랫동안 얘기하면 기운을 점점 빠지고 혼자 있어야 기운을 다시 회복할 수 있는 사람이라는 겁니다. 반대로 제 친한 친구는 외향적인 E입니다. 그 친구는 저랑 달리 다른 사람이랑 같이 있어야 활기가 있고 기운이 납니다. 이렇게 저와 제 친구는 성격이 완전히 다르지만 같이 어울리는데 아무 문제도 없습니다. 여러분들도 그렇지 않나요? 네. 하지만 그렇게 생각하지 않은 사람들은 좀 많습니다. 사실 모든 사람들에게는 자기가 사는 나라의 역사와 문화에 따라 어쩔 수 없이 조금 치우친 편견 있는 사고방식이 있을 겁니다. 그래서 어떤 사람을 보면 이 성격이 좋다, 저 성격이 안 좋다 하면서 판단하는 건 흔한 겁니다. 조용한 사람을 보면 왜 당당하게 못하냐, 감성적인 남자를 보면 왜 여자처럼 하는 거냐 하고 비판하는 경우도 많죠. 그런데 내성적인 사람은 쉽게 외향적인 사람으로 변할 수도 없고 변할 필요도 없습니다. 잠깐만요. 말을 많이 하는 사람이든 아니든 감정적인 사람이든 아니든 모든 성격이 다 괜찮다고 생각하는 게 필요합니다. 안 그런가요? 그래서 저는 제 MBTI 결과를 몰라도 이 테스트가 아주 중요하다고 생각합니다. 왜냐하면 이런 테스트가 유행할수록 더 많은 사람들이 다른 사람의 성격을 이해할 수 있을 것이기 때문입니다. 모든 사람들의 사고방식이 조금씩 다르구나, 달라도 괜찮구나, 이렇게 조금 더 마음이 넓은 사람이 될 수 있을 거라고 생각합니다. 그래서 MBTI 테스트 한 번도 안 해본 사람들에게 추천하고 싶네요. 이 테스트 한번 해보세요. 자기의 성격에 대해서 깊게 생각할 수도 있고 다른 성격에 대해서 알면 주변에 있는 사람들의 마음을 조금 더 이해할 수 있을지도 몰라요. 저처럼 자세한 결과를 몰라도 잊어버려도 괜찮고 그냥 한번 해보면 재미있을 것 같아요. 네, 그럼 이상으로 마치겠습니다. 들어주셔서 감사합니다.
Okay, so as you might have seen, I ended that speech with a huge sigh of relief that it was just over. Like I said, I don't think you could tell that I was trembling behind the podium. I think that I seemed, relatively happy. I don't know. But once I sat down, I definitely was like physically shaking to the point that a contestant behind me, she literally was like, "괜찮아요? Are you okay?" And like reached out her hand to me. I was like, I'm fine. And like took her hand and she just held on to my hand and was like trying to give me like comfort. And she held on for so long. I started to get uncomfortable actually because she held on for like 10 seconds like, "It's gonna be okay." And so I was like, "Yeah, thanks. You can let go now. You can let go." But that was kind of cute. But also I was like, crap, does that mean that they could all tell I was horrifyingly nervous the entire time? So thankfully, looking back at the video, I don't think it was that obvious. I think just after I sat down, I was shaking so much that she was like, "Is this girl okay?" But yeah, as you guys saw, I definitely did not give a flawless presentation. Honestly, at the very beginning, I almost forgot my entire speech. I almost blanked on everything in like sentence 3, but thankfully I recovered fairly swiftly from that little almost mistake. But yeah, once I got further in, there were those 2 moments where I kind of paused and couldn't think of what to say. Thankfully, the last one where I said like, "Just a moment, please," everyone laughed, which I was not expecting. I was like glad that they were like, breaking the tension with me. It was not like this awkward like, "What do I say?" moment, but that was not optimal. I was really not happy with how that went. Thankfully, I think looking back at the video, it seems less long in hindsight than it felt in the moment of trying to recall words from my totally blanked out mind. But yeah, and after that last little long pause, you could tell that I was stuttering more and more, and then I was kind of mentally panicking slightly. But again, I think I managed to kind of still deliver it with a smile and seem mildly confident and like pleasant during my speech, even though I was a ball of nerves and losing confidence by the second. So I think all in all, considering the flubs I made, it didn't go too badly. And as you noticed, didn't lose the voice, even though I was cotton dry and remained cotton dry throughout the rest of the entire presentations of all the speeches and all the awards and everything. I was so glad that I did not lose my voice during the presentation. And yeah, like I said, since I was second, I could just kind of sit there having done what I needed to get done and just like enjoy the rest of the presentations, or the speeches I should say, and just kind of like see how others were doing. And even though part of me was just like, having fun and just enjoying hearing others kind of tell their stories or, their experiences, a big part of me, because it is a contest, for each person was like judging how well they were doing compared to me. And I was getting a little bit nervous because prior to the contest, my Korean teacher had actually told me that the coordinator had like mentioned to her like, "Oh, I saw that like this girl who like did really surprisingly well was in your class." And so my Korean teacher had told me that, and so I thought, oh, maybe I'm like better than everyone else and I'll have like an easy chance of winning this contest. But as more and more people went up on stage, I was like, everyone's doing fine. Like everyone is doing fairly well. And so I was getting really the feeling that I was not going to win any prizes as more and more people went up and were doing fairly well. Again, everyone's having like these minor mistakes here and there, like stuttering occasionally or pausing and like restarting a sentence and stuff. And so no one was doing like absolutely perfect. And so I thought maybe I have a chance to win something, who knows? But yeah, definitely there were a lot more pretty good speeches than I had anticipated going into this contest. So yeah, there was 6 contestants in a row who gave their speeches, a short little intermission where they played more kayagum, concert stuff, and then we resumed for the last 6 speeches. And contestant number 12, the very last speech out of all the speeches, was flawless. Like, I'm not even kidding, like perfect. I don't think she even stuttered once, no pausing. She just like had a good cadence, was giving her speech. Like, she was smiling. She just went through the entire thing. It was fairly high level, no like grammar mistakes. I was like, dang girl, way to end the contest. And so I knew at that moment there was no way she was not gonna win the first prize with that performance, but I was just hoping at this point I could maybe squeeze in like third and still get a little bit of money for what I'd done that day. But like I said, I had no idea. I really was not feeling confident at this point at all. And so after a little brief intermission where we could kind of chat with the other contestants while the judges kind of collaborated and added up their scores to figure out the results, they came back with the final results of the contest. And that is where I started to get extremely confused, because what I knew of the prizes I had read in English, because they had like a Korean translation and an English translation, and because English is obviously still easier for me, I had read the English one, which said like first place is X amount, second place is X amount, and third place is X amount. But when they started to award the prizes, they didn't say like 1등, 2등, 3등 on them. They had like different Korean names, and I didn't know what they meant. And the first one that they brought out was called 장려상, I think, and it had 3 prize winners for that sang, that award. And I was like, what is this level? It didn't say 3등, 2등, 1등. I had no idea what was going on. And so I was like, maybe it's the honorary mention. And all the people that were called up for that prize were actually pretty good. And so I was getting nervous, like, did I not even get honorable mention? What's going on? And so those people like shook the mayor's hand and sat down. Then they called out what was called the 우수상. And I thought, okay, I also don't recognize that name. Maybe these are like names of the prizes? I had no idea what was going on. And so I got the 우수상. And I was like, yay, I got a song. I got some sort of award at least, but I had no idea, like, what is this? Is it like, did I place? What's going on? And then the next award given was the Taesang, which I knew that's like the grand prize. So that's like number 1. And so I thought, okay, there's 1 Taesang, there's 2 우수상s, and there's 3 장려상s. Does that mean like the bottom 3 are honorable mentions and like me and this other girl are like second and third and we just don't know who's who? And then like the girl that got first place is just first. And so I had no idea what was going on. Later, I looked back at like the announcement and I realized that Taesang is the name for the first prize, 우수상 is the name for the second place prize, and 장려상 is the name for the third place prize. So even though in English, first, second, third sound like there's only 1 of each place, I guess they were giving 3 levels of prizes. And they were giving 1 for the first place, 2 for the second level, and like 3 for the third level of prize. And so actually 6 out of 12 ended up getting money prizes, and I got the second place prize, the 우수상. So I did manage to get a prize, thankfully. I was very happy to see that once I got home and realized I would be getting 300,000 won, which is a nice little compensation for all the stress and hard work that I put into this contest. Honestly, once you put in all the work of writing the speech, editing the speech, practicing the speech, and all that stuff, I'm not even sure it ends up being minimum wage once I think about it like that, but regardless, I am really happy that I ended up doing this experience and winning a prize, which I forgot to even show you guys. This is the huge prize that they give you. Hooray! So this is my big 우수상 given for the contest. We all took a bunch of pictures with these prizes with the mayor guy, I think it is. And they also gave all the participants some gifts as well, which are over here. And so between like all the gifts that they gave us and this huge sign and the bag that I already had with me coming to the contest, I looked, I'm sure, very, very interesting walking on the streets trying to find the bus stop on the way home with like my arms full of stuff. I was trying to hide the side that said this huge like award thing because I feel like it's just like, kind of embarrassing to like waltzing along the streets with this huge sign for an award. But yeah, I actually haven't even opened up these prizes yet. I was waiting to do it on the video. So this looks like some sort of maybe food or snack gift. It looks like tea. Oh yeah, so this is very cute. So a little tea gift set that has a bunch of different kinds of teas. I actually don't like tea, but I do have colleagues who do enjoy tea, so I'm gonna probably bring this to the office to share. So that is that. I didn't even notice it said tea down there at the bottom, but that's the first one. The second one appears to be some sort of like, maybe a mug or something. I'm thinking maybe it's like a promotional gift, so it might say the Global Center's name on it. Let's open it up and see. It looks like it might be like a tea cup. Judging from the shape of this, it's all taped up, but let's see. Oh, it's a whole tea set. It actually has 3 different cups. One of them is pink and the other 2 are white, I guess. So those are cute, I think. Cute little like wavy edge cups. And then I'm assuming that these are the saucers that go along with them. Yeah, they are. So yeah, again, the little kind of, I call it like almost like flower-like kind of rounded edges and 3 different colors there. There's like a green, purple, and blue. So that's really cute. Again, I don't drink tea, so I don't know that I have a strong need for a Korean style tea set, but it's cute and it's commemorative of this experience, so I will gladly keep them for sure. And I'm also glad to have another tote bag, so I will gladly accept another tote bag to add to my collection as well. So yeah, that was my overall little speech contest experience. I was super happy and super blessed and actually quite surprised by the end of things to realize that I had won one of the second place prizes, because like I said, there were so many good speeches, and honestly, I was not expecting to get prize money after I heard them all because, you know, there were so many on my level and, you know, it's hard to choose. I think at the end of the day, because I like had a smile on my face and I got people to be involved in my speech, I think that's why I ended up getting above some of the others that were also good. Or maybe because my topic was high level-ish and my grammar was fine. I honestly don't know why they chose me over others who also did great and I thought were gonna get higher than me. So I'm thinking that my, you know, cheerful personality ended up pulling it out for me, but I'd have to get in the minds of the judges to know. They didn't like give us our score sheets or anything, so We'll never really know, but that was my experience. Even though I was horrifyingly nervous and got the dry throat and was regretting it the entire day of the speech contest, I'm actually really glad in hindsight that I did it, not just because I won 300,001, but because it was, it's always good to break out of your comfort zone a little bit, even if it does make you feel nauseous and nervous. And I've been complaining a lot this year about how I'm not getting any Korean speaking practice, even though I live in Korea, because I have, like the English bubble of being an English professor. And I think this is a great experience to really force myself to speak Korean, even though it was a speech and not like actual conversation. It's still a practice of speaking, obviously, in a really big way, and some good exposure therapy for my stage fright as well. So yeah, that is it for my story, I think. Let me know what you guys thought of my speech and how I did. Could you tell I was shaking like a leaf behind the podium, or did the podium hide it fairly well? It's amazing what a smile will cover in terms of nerves, but yeah, that's all I had to say for this video. I will catch you guys in the next one, and until then, annyeong.
I found my way. I found my way. I was in the dark against it all, but made it through the day. Cause I found my way. I found my way. In bad times, I know I'll be okay. Cause I found